You have had to tap into a truth of your own in order to share it with other people. The beauty of going to arts and culture spaces is you don't need the same background to share the goosebumps in order to understand, in order to have perspective.
Hey, change makers and visionaries. This is Reimagining Community, where we dive deep into the stories of leaders who are reshaping the world, one community at a time. I'm your host, Garland Fuller, and every episode is a radical act of connection. We're not just talking about change, we're breaking down how real people are creating it right here, right now. This podcast is more than conversations. It's a bridge where we are sharing stories that offer insight and inspiration. Whether you're an entrepreneur, consultant, volunteer, artist, or an organizational leader, this is your space to listen and learn. This is your call to create impact in the communities you hold dear and that hold you up. Let's reimagine what's possible together.
Welcome to the Third Space Academy solo series, where we reimagine the places between home and work, the ones that hold our stories, spark our ideas, and remind us we belong. I'm Garland Fuller, and today we are talking about arts and culture spaces. I had to do this one because I feel like I was never someone who would have called myself an art lover or someone who knows much about museums and culture until I'd say I realized, like, if I were to not have that in my life, I would be so sad. What if the gallery, the stage, the mural on your street corner was our new town square? The idea of that to me is the ultimate third space. And what I love about arts and culture spaces is that it is a opportunity to not only, I'd say, be able to imagine something new or spark creativity. It's an opportunity to take on a different perspective. I can't not talk about theater and the stage because I have birthed a theater kid. I don't think I knew anything about the theater and the stage until having her and getting to not only attend so many performances, but be involved in the behind the scenes when it comes to all the preparation she goes. When I get to sit and watch her perform, it's just amazing because they work so hard on it, but also being able to see something that started out as words on a page that someone poured their heart into, and then having people bring it to life. There's something just really amazing about the theater. And I love shows, musicals, and the stage. My daughter goes to a high school for performing arts, so I get a lot of touch points with arts and culture that if I didn't have, I don't think I would be the person that I am. And it's greatly influenced me over the past 10 years, consciously paying attention to what exhibits are coming into town, what shows are coming into town, making an effort to buy tickets to dance performances. That's like something that I do on a regular basis. There's a friend of mine, and every time we celebrate our birthdays, we make an effort to go and see a dance performance. If it doesn't fall in our birth month, we'll go another time, because dancing is something that we both enjoy recreationally. We both love salsa dancing, but we also love watching people who are just in total awe of how they are able to move their bodies. I could not do a Third Space episode without talking about arts and culture spaces because they fill my life with joy and creativity. People who attend arts events are 56% more likely to volunteer and 27% more likely to vote than those who don't. This is from the National Endowment for the Arts and Civic Engagement Report. When I saw this statistic, I was like, really? That is an interesting statistic, because I think there is something about volunteering and saying you're interested in something, and then definitely civic engagement in terms of participating and saying my voice counts and what I am interested in voting on counts and matters to me. And so I'm going to participate. I found that quite interesting. If you are an arts and culture third space, your patrons are more likely to volunteer and participate than you may realize. If you're not tapping into that, that is something that you need to be, I think, aware of. So let me provide some context. Arts and culture not only as a space, but arts and culture is a democratizer. The beauty of going to arts and culture spaces is you don't need the same background to share the goosebumps in order to understand, in order to have perspective. What I love about arts and culture spaces is you can just show up and receive what is there for you. The beauty of museums, theater, gallery exhibits, dance exhibits, and movies. I will call movies an art, whether it's an independent film or something that's more mainstream, cinema, moving images, whether it's animation or it is an actual live picture situation. It does take a lot to make these things, but when you are the consumer or the person who is participating, if it's a participatory type of arts and culture space, it does level the playing field. You don't need anything other than a human experience to love it, interact with it, make it feel something. Art is not decoration. It's infrastructure for belonging. It calls people in, allows them to feel they can find themselves and see themselves in the art and culture being created. When I talk about arts and culture spaces, are visual and performing art spaces, simply because I feel like there's so many spaces that fall under this: museum spaces, gallery spaces, theater. All of those are huge. There are other spaces coming online now that maybe weren't considered arts and culture spaces, but are totally that. Dance studios, yoga studios, lots of things that can be categorized as arts and overlap with other spaces. So that's what I'm going to focus on today. So let's talk about the people. So even if you may not consider yourself an artist, if you're showing up to an arts and culture space, you are possibly a shadow artist. I learned that about myself this year on my Artist Way journey. Shout out to Julia Cameron. She says we're all artists. Whether we want to call ourselves that or not is really a matter of our own evolution at owning it and claiming it. If you write, sing, if you act, if you paint, if you draw, if you sew, all of this essentially is art. If you're an artist, you are a truth teller. You have had to tap into a truth of your own in order to share it with other people. And so audiences, when they show up, are participants engaging with your art, whether they know about visuals, composition, or construction. They may not be a student, but that doesn't mean they can't engage. They're not just consumers. When doing this people, place, program lens, your people that you are drawing in and coming in to engage, think about what you want them to get and how you want them to engage with the art. And possibly you do have to throw some education in there because there may be folks who just aren't aware of the history. Sometimes people come because they are curious and they are interested in something about it calls to them. So we talk about museums, theaters, galleries, but it can be public art, street corners. It might be in libraries. It might be places where you're trying to bring the art to the place. That might be a restaurant or a cafe, visual art, performing outdoors and performing Shakespeare in the park. There's so many places you can, I say, democratize the art, and all can be third spaces when activated. The beauty of art is that you have more opportunity to create intersection because you bring the drama, you bring the interest, you create this space to get people to engage. There's so many places, not just the traditional places, that you can do this and make it accessible. So let's talk about program, because I think program is huge when it comes to arts and culture spaces. Of course, we know about big festivals, art walks, open mic nights, spoken word, book clubs. There's all kinds of book readings. There's my favorite that started happening where when people learn a dance and then next thing you know, they do it in the middle of Times Square or a public space and then people just start dancing. Those to me were like the epitome of let's do people, place, program and turn it on its head. How you choose to create a program is really based upon, again, the people you want to attract and the composition of space and time you have. I wanted to talk about arts and culture as third spaces. Arts and culture are not extra. They're a living, breathing organism of a community. They tell you a lot about who shows up and why they are called to being there. I just want to encourage you to consider your third space, your arts and culture third space, to be an opportunity to bring people in and to, especially in times when there is a need for resistance, waking people up, getting people activated. Arts and culture spaces are ready to do that because, as we know, this is when the artists go to work, as Nina Simone says and Toni Morrison says. These are the times when we are able to reflect back to people, maybe things they can't say or they don't necessarily have the words for or can't express. And so the artists are the opportunities to express that, embody that, live it, breathe it, show it. When was the last time art made you feel less alone? Think about that, journal on that, because I feel like in this loneliness epidemic, which if you listen to my first episode, I talk a lot about this loneliness epidemic, arts and culture are another key, another lever to make people feel less alone. Share this with any local arts organization because in times like this, we need to show up for each other. Invite me to help you if you are an arts and culture organization and need help integrating your programming into the people, place, program design. I worked with on a few different ways. Possibly if you're interested in having me come out and facilitate a workshop, or if you're interested in working with me one-on-one and building out something specific with you and your team, or if you are interested in having me speak to any upcoming conference or summit or team meeting that you have. I just want to encourage you all to remember the beauty that exists when we come together and the beauty of arts and culture spaces in order to provide that. We dive deeper into this in Third Space Academy, where leaders and community builders learn to activate people, place, and program to create spaces that truly serve. I'd love to connect with you. You can find me at garlandfuller.com. All this information is in the notes below. Reminder that arts and culture isn't decoration, it's an infrastructure for belonging. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
If this conversation moved you, don't keep it to yourself. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications because every week we're bringing you more stories of real transformation. Drop a comment, share your thoughts, and tag the folks in your circle who need to hear this. Want to go deeper? Check out the Community Impact Collective. Sign up for my newsletter. The link is in the description. Now is the time. Are you in?